Taylor Swift sat at a corner table in a quaint, dimly lit restaurant in downtown Nashville, her signature red lipstick glowing faintly in the warm candlelight. She had chosen this restaurant deliberately, its charm resting in its unpretentious decor and reputation for comfort food with a southern twist. Known to value privacy, Taylor was dressed casually, hoping to enjoy a quiet evening with a close friend. The music that wafted through the room was soft, a far cry from her stadium-filled anthems, yet it set a soothing tone. For a moment, she was just another customer, far removed from the celebrity status that so often overwhelmed her life. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. As she scanned the menu, her friend chuckled at the intense concentration on her face. "It's just mac and cheese, Taylor," she teased. But before Taylor could respond, their waiter approached the table, exuding an air of impatience that seemed oddly out of place in such a warm establishment. The man was tall, with a sharp, angular face that carried a perpetual scowl. His name tag read Gary, and his attitude announced loudly that he wanted to be anywhere but serving tables that evening. His greeting lacked warmth. "You ready to order, or do you need another hour?" he asked, his tone dry and clipped. Taylor's friend raised an eyebrow at the remark, but Taylor, ever polite, responded with a soft smile. "I'll have the mac and cheese and a side of roasted vegetables, please," she said, her voice measured and kind. Gary scribbled on his notepad with exaggerated indifference. "And you?" he asked, barely glancing at Taylor's companion. Her friend ordered quickly, sensing the waiter's impatience. As Gary turned on his heel and walked away, the two women exchanged glances. "Well, someone's having a bad day," Taylor remarked with a wry smile, brushing it off. She was no stranger to moments like these. Fame often drew strange encounters. As the night wore on, however, Gary's attitude became impossible to ignore. When the food arrived, he slammed their plates down without so much as a word, causing Taylor's water glass to wobble precariously. Her friend's drink order was incorrect, and when she pointed it out politely, Gary's response was far from apologetic. "Well, that's what you got, so I guess you'll have to deal with it," he snapped, turning away before she could reply. Taylor remained composed, though the corners of her mouth tightened. Her friend, less reserved, leaned forward and whispered, "Do you want me to say something? This guy's out of line." Taylor shook her head. "Let's just get through the meal. It's not worth making a scene." But Gary seemed determined to push the limits. At one point, he walked past their table and muttered under his breath, though loud enough for them to hear, "Guess even celebrities think they can skip tipping just because they're famous." The insult hung in the air like a thundercloud. Taylor's eyes flicked up sharply, locking onto Gary's retreating figure. Her friend's jaw dropped. "Did he just—" "Yes," Taylor interrupted, her voice calm but firm. "He did." For the remainder of the meal, Taylor maintained her composure, though her mind whirled with thoughts. She wasn't one to demand special treatment, but the blatant rudeness was inexcusable. As they finished their dessert, she glanced at her friend, a spark of determination in her eyes. "Let's settle the bill." When Gary returned, he tossed the check onto the table without a word. Taylor looked at it, then reached into her purse and handed him her credit card. As he walked away, she leaned back in her chair and whispered, "He doesn't know." "Know what?" her friend asked, perplexed. Taylor smiled faintly, a mixture of amusement and resolve. "That I own this restaurant." Her friend's eyes widened in shock. "You're kidding." "Nope," Taylor said, her tone light but with an edge of steely determination. "It's one of my side projects. I love supporting local businesses, and this place was struggling when I bought it. I wanted to keep its charm intact and give the staff a good environment to work in. Clearly, though, not everyone got the memo." Gary returned with the card and receipt, still scowling. Taylor signed the slip, leaving a generous tip despite everything. Then she stood, smoothing her jacket, and turned to him with a calm yet authoritative expression. "Gary," she said, her voice steady, "is the manager here tonight?" He blinked, caught off guard. No. Why?" "I'd like to have a word with you in private then," she said. Her tone wasn't angry, but carried an unmistakable weight that made it clear this was not a request. Gary hesitated, then nodded and gestured toward the back of the restaurant. In the small office behind the kitchen, Taylor closed the door and turned to face Gary, who now looked uneasy. "Do you know who I am?" she asked, her voice even. Gary scoffed. "Yeah, you're Taylor Swift, big deal." Taylor's lips twitched in a faint smile. "It is a big deal. Because I own this restaurant. The words landed like a hammer. Gary's face drained of color. You... what? I bought this place 2 years ago, Taylor continued, her tone firm but not unkind. I've worked hard to ensure it's a place where both customers and employees feel valued, but your behavior tonight was unacceptable. Not just toward me, but toward anyone who walks through those doors, Gary stammered, trying to form a response, but Taylor held up a hand to stop him. I get it, she said. We all have bad days, but there's a line and you crossed it. Repeatedly. I've been in your shoes working jobs where I felt frustrated or underappreciated, but that's never an excuse to treat people poorly. He stared at her, speechless. Taylor continued, her voice softening. I believe in second chances, Gary. If you're willing to reflect on tonight and make an effort to improve, you're welcome to stay, but if this kind of behavior happens again, we'll have to part ways. Do you understand? Gary nodded slowly, his expression a mix of shame and gratitude. I'm sorry, he mumbled. I didn't know. That doesn't matter, Taylor said gently. What matters is how you treat people, no matter who they are. With that, she opened the door and stepped back into the restaurant, leaving Gary to reflect on the encounter. As she rejoined her friend, the buzz of conversation filled the air once more, and the evening resumed its natural rhythm. News of the incident spread quickly among the staff, and by the next day, it had reached the wider world. Gary's behavior and Taylor's poised response became the talk of social media, sparking debates about kindness, humility, and the unseen pressures of both service work and celebrity life. For Taylor, it was just another reminder of the importance of grace under pressure, and the power of treating everyone with respect, no matter the circumstances. As she left the restaurant that night, she couldn't help but smile. Sometimes the best way to make a statement is through quiet strength and unwavering integrity. And in that moment, Taylor Swift was not just a global superstar, she was an example of the kind of leadership the world could always use a little more of. As Taylor Swift and her friends stepped out into the crisp Nashville night, the hum of the city enveloped them. The streetlights cast golden pools of light on the cobblestone street, and a faint melody drifted from a nearby busker playing an acoustic guitar. Taylor tightened her jacket against the evening chill, her mind still lingering on the confrontation with Gary. She had handled situations like this before, but each one carried its own weight. This wasn't just about her. It was about setting a standard for how people should treat one another, no matter their roles. Her friend broke the silence as they strolled down the street. You were incredible back there, Taylor. I don't think I could have been so calm. Taylor shrugged, her lips curving into a faint smile. It's not about being calm, it's about being effective. If I'd lost my temper, it wouldn't have made a difference. Sometimes the best way to get through to someone is to hold up a mirror. Let them see themselves clearly. Her friend nodded thoughtfully. Still, owning the place and not flaunting it, that's a power move. Taylor chuckled softly. It's not about flaunting. It's about letting the place thrive on its own. When I bought it, I made a promise to myself that I wouldn't make it about me. This restaurant has its own identity, its own soul. The moment it becomes Taylor Swift's restaurant, it loses that. They continued walking, the conversation meandering to lighter topics. Yet for Taylor, the evening's events stayed with her, sparking a deeper reflection on the dynamics between fame, power, and humanity. Over the years, she had learned that influence was a double-edged sword, capable of both lifting people up and cutting them down. Tonight, she hoped it had done the former. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Taylor's home, casting a golden glow on the sleek interior. As she sipped her coffee, her phone buzzed incessantly on the marble countertop. The story had broken overnight, and social media was ablaze. Tweets, posts, and news articles dissected every detail of her interaction with Gary. While many praised her grace and restraint, others debated whether she should have confronted him at all. Taylor scrolled through the headlines. Taylor Swift owns the restaurant where she was insulted. Her response is winning hearts. The superstar who chooses kindness over drama. Should celebrities stay silent in the face of rudeness? Her publicist, Andrea, called moments later, her voice a mix of amusement and exasperation. Taylor, you've gone viral again. Taylor sighed, setting her mug down. I wasn't trying to. I know, Andrea replied, and that's why people love you. But we should probably address it. People are curious, and the story's taken on a life of its own. Taylor considered this. She wasn't one to shy away from speaking her mind when it mattered, but she also valued privacy and authenticity. "Let's release a statement," she said finally. "Something simple. I don't want to overshadow the restaurant or the team." Andrea agreed, and within the hour, a succinct message was posted on Taylor's social media accounts. "Last night, I had a challenging encounter at one of my favorite places. I believe everyone deserves kindness and respect, regardless of who they are. Let's all try to lift each other up. We never know what someone else is going through. Thanks for the love, and let's keep supporting small businesses that bring our communities together." The post was met with overwhelming support, and the restaurant, once a hidden gem, quickly found itself in the spotlight. Reservations poured in, and the staff scrambled to accommodate the sudden surge in demand. Gary, however, was navigating a far more complicated reality. Gary's shift the next day began awkwardly. The other staff members avoided his gaze, whispering in hushed tones whenever he entered the room. The kitchen buzzed with activity, but the usual camaraderie was absent. Even the head chef, known for his boisterous personality, greeted him with a curt nod and nothing more. He hadn't slept much the night before, replaying Taylor's words in his mind. They had been firm but fair, and the more he thought about it, the more he realized how deeply he had misjudged her. To him, she had been just another entitled celebrity, someone who breezed through life without understanding real struggles. But her words had shattered that illusion, leaving him face to face with his own bitterness. During the lull before the dinner rush, Gary found himself alone in the back office. He stared at the small, cluttered desk, where a photo of the original owner still hung on the wall. They had started the restaurant decades ago, building it from scratch with little more than grit and determination. When Taylor had bought the place, she had insisted on keeping their legacy alive, honoring the heart and soul they had poured into it. Gary felt a pang of guilt as he thought about how far removed his attitude had been from that vision. He had let his personal frustrations bleed into his work, treating customers and co-workers alike with disdain. He knew he couldn't undo the damage overnight, but perhaps he could start with an apology. Later that evening, as the restaurant buzzed with diners, Gary spotted Taylor at the bar. She was seated alone, a notebook open in front of her, pen poised over the page. She looked up as he approached, her expression neutral. "Miss Swift," he began, his voice hesitant, "can I have a moment of your time?" She closed her notebook and gestured for him to sit. "Of course, Gary." He took a deep breath, his hands fidgeting nervously. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry for the way I acted last night. I was rude and it was unprofessional. You didn't deserve that, and neither did your friend." Taylor studied him for a moment, her expression softening. "Thank you for saying that," she said gently. "I appreciate it." Gary nodded, his gaze fixed on the floor. "I've been dealing with some personal stuff, but that's no excuse. I know I've been taking it out on people, and it's not right. I want to do better." Taylor's lips curved into a small smile. "That's all anyone can ask for, Gary. The fact that you're willing to reflect and take responsibility says a lot. If you need support, don't hesitate to reach out. We're a team here." Gary looked up, surprised by her kindness. "Thank you," he said quietly. "I'll do my best to make it right." As he walked away, Taylor felt a sense of relief. She knew the road to change was rarely easy, but everyone deserved a chance to grow. And in her experience, even the smallest acts of grace could spark something greater. The weeks that followed brought a transformation to the restaurant. Under the renewed attention, the staff rallied together, driven by a shared sense of purpose. Taylor made a point to visit regularly, not as a celebrity, but as an engaged owner who valued the people who worked there. Gary, true to his word, worked tirelessly to rebuild his reputation. He took extra care with each table, greeting customers with genuine warmth and attentiveness. His colleagues began to notice the change, and slowly but surely, the camaraderie returned. The head chef even started teasing him again, a sign that the ice had finally thawed. For Taylor, watching the restaurant flourish was deeply rewarding. It reminded her of why she had invested in it in the first place, not just as a business venture, but as a way to connect with her community. She had always believed that music had the power to bring people together, but she was learning that food could do the same. In this cozy, unassuming space, strangers became friends, and memories were made over shared meals and laughter. Months later, on a quiet afternoon, Taylor received a handwritten note at her Nashville home. The envelope was plain and the handwriting was uneven, but she recognized the name in the corner, Gary. She opened it and began to read. "Dear Miss Swift, I wanted to thank you again for the opportunity you gave me to make things right. Your kindness and patience have meant more to me than I can express. I've been working hard to improve, not just at work but in my personal life too. For the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm heading in the right direction. You've taught me that it's never too late to change, and I'll always be grateful for that. The restaurant is a better place because of you, and I'm proud to be part of it. Sincerely, Gary." Taylor smiled as she folded the letter, her heart full. It was a reminder that even the smallest acts of kindness could ripple outward, touching lives in ways she might never fully understand. Months passed, and the restaurant began to find its rhythm as a beloved neighborhood spot. Its reputation, bolstered by the viral incident and Taylor's thoughtful ownership, had transformed it into a destination where locals and tourists alike gathered to share meals and stories. Despite the influx of attention, Taylor worked hard to ensure the restaurant retained its charm. She didn't want it to feel commercialized or lose its intimate atmosphere. To achieve this, she quietly invested in subtle upgrades, refinishing the hardwood floors, introducing vintage light fixtures that bathed the room in a soft glow, and adding framed photographs of the community on the walls. These changes weren't ostentatious, but added layers of warmth and personality to the space. The menu, too, saw evolution. Taylor collaborated with the head chef Marco to craft seasonal dishes inspired by the flavors of her childhood. Fluffy buttermilk biscuits, smoky brisket, and peach cobbler topped with hand-churned ice cream. Marco, a culinary genius with a knack for southern comfort food, embraced Taylor's vision. He spent hours in the kitchen experimenting with recipes that paid homage to tradition while offering fresh twists. Through these shared efforts, the restaurant began to reflect not just a place to eat, but a tapestry of stories and connections. Regulars returned, finding comfort in the familiar faces of the staff, who now operated with an unspoken camaraderie. Even Gary, who had become something of a local redemption story, greeted each table with genuine warmth. One crisp autumn afternoon, Taylor sat in the corner booth, a pile of paperwork spread out before her. She liked to visit the restaurant during the quiet hours, when the chatter of lunchtime had subsided and the dinner rush had yet to begin. As she flipped through contracts and inventory reports, she noticed a small group of children peeking through the window. Their giggles gave them away, and when Taylor glanced up, they scattered like birds, hiding behind a lamppost. Smiling to herself, Taylor rose and stepped outside. "Hey there," she called gently. The children hesitated, peering out from their hiding spot. "It's okay, you can come in if you'd like." Slowly they emerged, a group of 3, no older than 10. The oldest boy with sandy hair and a nervous smile stepped forward. "We're sorry," he mumbled. "We just wanted to see if it was really you." Taylor crouched to their level, her smile reassuring. "It's me," she said. "What's your name?" "Logan," he replied, his confidence growing. "And this is my sister Emma and our friend Charlie." "Well, Logan, Emma, and Charlie, would you like to come in for some pie? On the house." Their eyes widened, and after a hesitant glance at one another, they nodded eagerly. Taylor led them inside, where she introduced them to Marco, who immediately set to work slicing generous portions of his famous pecan pie. The children chattered excitedly, their initial shyness forgotten. Logan told Taylor about his dream of becoming a singer, while Emma shyly mentioned her love for drawing. "You can do anything you set your mind to," Taylor told them, her tone earnest. "And if you ever need a little inspiration, just stop by here. This place is for everyone." As they left, waving enthusiastically, Taylor felt a deep sense of fulfillment. These were the moments she cherished most. Not the viral headlines or the accolades, but the quiet connections that reminded her why she had fallen in love with this city and its people. Meanwhile, the restaurant's growing popularity brought its own challenges. With the surge in customers, the staff found themselves stretched thin, and Marco voiced concerns about burnout. "We need more hands in the kitchen," he told Taylor one evening as they reviewed the week's schedule. "I can't keep up this pace, and neither can the team." Taylor nodded, understanding the weight of his words. "You're right. Let's start hiring immediately. I'll make sure we find the right people." The hiring process was meticulous. Taylor wasn't just looking for skilled employees, she wanted individuals who shared the restaurant's values. Over the next few weeks, the team welcomed a diverse group of new faces. A pastry chef named Mia, whose delicate confections rivaled works of art. Damien, a former line cook with a passion for sustainable sourcing. And Lila, a college student who brought infectious energy to the front of the house. As the team expanded, so did the restaurant's sense of community. Mia introduced a weekly dessert tasting, where customers could sample her creations and vote on which ones should make the menu. Damien started a small herb garden in the backyard, teaching the staff how to incorporate fresh ingredients into their dishes. Lila organized a trivia night, drawing crowds of locals who competed for free meals and bragging rights. The restaurant thrived not just because of the food, but because it had become a hub for creativity and connection. And at the center of it all was Taylor, quietly ensuring that every decision aligned with the vision she had for the space. But success also attracted scrutiny. As the restaurant's popularity grew, so did the pressure to maintain its reputation. Food critics began visiting unannounced, their reviews dissecting every detail, from the texture of the cornbread to the consistency of the gravy. Bloggers and influencers filled their feeds with photos of the mac and cheese, while customers debated on Yelp whether the portions were generous enough. For Taylor, the criticism was both familiar and frustrating. She had spent years navigating public opinion, learning to separate constructive feedback from unnecessary negativity. But this was different. The restaurant wasn't just a reflection of her, it was a reflection of the entire team. She felt a deep responsibility to shield them from the harshness of online commentary. One evening, as she scrolled through reviews, Taylor noticed a particularly scathing post from a food blogger with a sizable following. The critique was harsh, nitpicking details and accusing the restaurant of prioritizing its celebrity connection over quality. Taylor's first instinct was to respond, but she paused, considering her approach. Instead of crafting a rebuttal, she invited the blogger to return for a private tour and meal. "I'd love to show you what we're about," she wrote in her message. "Come see the heart behind the food." To her surprise, the blogger accepted. A week later, they arrived, notebook in hand, looking skeptical but curious. Taylor greeted them personally, walking them through the kitchen where Marco and his team worked with precision and passion. She introduced them to Damien, who explained his philosophy on sourcing ingredients, and to Mia, who shared her vision for creating desserts that told a story. As the seasons turned, the restaurant became a fixture in the community, hosting everything from holiday dinners to charity events. Taylor was particularly proud of one initiative, a monthly Pay What You Can night where anyone could enjoy a meal, regardless of their ability to pay. The idea had come from Gary, who wanted to give back after witnessing firsthand the transformative power of generosity. The event was a resounding success. Families, college students, and even those experiencing homelessness filled the restaurant, sharing meals and stories at long communal tables. Taylor worked alongside the staff, serving plates and refilling drinks, her heart swelling with gratitude at the sight of strangers connecting over food. One elderly woman, her hands weathered by years of hard work, pulled Taylor aside. "Thank you," she said, her voice trembling. "I haven't had a hot meal in days. You've given me more than food. You've given me hope." Taylor blinked back tears, squeezing the woman's hand. "You're always welcome here," she said softly. Despite the restaurant's successes, Taylor remained grounded. She continued writing songs, drawing inspiration from the lives and stories she encountered at the restaurant. The melodies that filled her journals were different now, less about heartbreak and more about resilience, community, and the quiet beauty of everyday life. One evening, as she strummed her guitar in the restaurant after closing, Marco approached her with a grin. "You know," he said, leaning against the counter, "we could use some live music around here. How about a little performance?" Taylor laughed, shaking her head. "I think people would rather hear your cooking than my singing." But Marco persisted, and soon the idea blossomed into a monthly open mic night. Local musicians, poets, and storytellers took to the small stage in the corner, their voices filling the space with creativity and emotion. Taylor occasionally joined in, slipping into the lineup under a pseudonym. For her, it wasn't about recognition. It was about the joy of creating and sharing without expectation. As the years went by, the restaurant became more than a business. It became a legacy, a living testament to the power of kindness, resilience, and community. Its walls bore witness to countless stories, first dates, family reunions, celebrations, and even farewells. And through it all, Taylor remained a quiet but constant presence, ensuring that the space continued to reflect the values she held dear. Gary, now a senior member of the team, often reflected on his journey. He had come so close to losing everything, but Taylor's grace had given him a chance to rewrite his story. He made it his mission to pay that grace forward, mentoring new employees and reminding them of the importance of treating every customer with dignity. One evening, as the staff gathered for their weekly meeting, Taylor raised a toast. "To all of you," she said, her voice filled with gratitude. "This place wouldn't be what it is without your hard work, heart, and passion. Thank you for making this dream a reality." The room erupted into cheers, the clinking of glasses and laughter filling the air. In that moment, Taylor knew that the restaurant wasn't just hers. It belonged to everyone who had poured their love and effort into it. And as she looked around at the faces of her team, she felt a profound sense of purpose. The restaurant, like her music, was a way of connecting with the world, a reminder that even in the simplest acts, like sharing a meal, there was immense power to heal, inspire, and unite. The evening sun dipped low over Nashville, painting the sky in hues of gold and lavender. Inside the restaurant, the energy buzzed with a quiet joy, a harmony crafted from years of hard work, thoughtful intention, and a shared love for the community it served. Taylor sat at the bar, sipping sweet tea as she watched the staff navigate the dinner rush with practiced ease. The restaurant had become something much more profound than she had imagined. A home, a haven, and a vibrant thread in the fabric of the city. At a nearby table, an elderly couple held hands, their laughter mingling with the clinking of plates and glasses. Across the room, a young woman in a denim jacket sketched quietly in her notebook, occasionally glancing up to observe the world around her. The open mic stage in the corner was lit softly, its microphone waiting for the next performer to step up and share their art. It was a space where stories were told, where creativity bloomed, and where people from every walk of life felt seen. Taylor's thoughts wandered to the journey that had brought her here. She had always known the power of storytelling, the way a song could break through barriers and touch someone's soul. But she hadn't anticipated how deeply a simple restaurant could have the same effect. Every meal served, every connection made, carried its own narrative. The restaurant was alive with these stories, woven together in a way that felt sacred. "Refill?" Marco's voice broke through her reverie. He stood behind the bar, holding a fresh pitcher of tea. Taylor nodded, sliding her glass forward. "Thanks, Marco." He poured the tea with a practiced hand, then leaned against the counter. "You seem lost in thought." "I guess I am," she admitted with a smile. "It's just this place. Sometimes I look around and it feels like more than just a restaurant. It's something bigger." Marco nodded, his expression thoughtful. "It's because you gave it heart. You didn't just throw money at it. You cared. People feel that." Taylor looked down at her glass, swirling the tea idly. "It's not just me. It's you, the staff, the people who walk through those doors. It's all of us." Marco grinned. Spoken like a true leader. The front door jingled as a new group entered, laughter trailing behind them. Taylor watched as Lila greeted them with her usual cheer, guiding them to a table with menus in hand. The sight filled Taylor with a quiet pride. She had built something lasting, something meaningful. As the night wore on, the open mic began. A young man with a guitar stepped onto the stage, his nervousness evident. Taylor listened as he strummed the first chords of an original song, his voice shaky but sincere. The room fell silent, the collective focus on him as he poured his heart into the performance. This, she realized, was the essence of what she had hoped to create, a place where everyone, no matter who they were or where they came from, could feel a little less alone. It was a dream made tangible, one meal, one note, one moment at a time. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on the waiter insulting Taylor Swift without knowing she owned the restaurant? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.